Good day, class 6. So welcome back to Gulmohar's Unit 10, The Storm. Dear children, you might have seen the horses, and some of you would be liking to see the horses, to be with the horses, to do the horse riding even. So here's a story written by Walter Farley. He was an American writer who loved horses and usually wrote stories about them for children like you. And dear children, he learned all about the horses from his uncle. He was a professional horseman. Who was a professional horseman? His uncle. And he wrote several books, of which the best was his The Black Stallion. Here's a small incident about the same story, same book, whose name is The Black Stallion. A small incident from the book, The Black Stallion. So, here he has explained about a storm when he was sailing in a ship. So, some of you might have sailed in the ship also, and sailing in the ship is a wonder. But sometimes it is very dangerous also. So here's a story about Alec, a young boy. He is sailing home to America after visiting his uncle in India. So he had come to India, and after visiting his uncle, now he was going back to America by ship. So when the ship called the Drake, the name of the ship was the Drake, when the ship stops at a port, so ships used to stop at different ports, like your train stops at different stations. Similarly, the ship stops at different ports. So here on one port it stopped, and from that port a group of men, they boarded with a beautiful untamed black stallion. So a group of men drag a beautiful untamed black stallion on board. Untamed means who was not trained. It was purchased that very time only. It seemed that it was purchased, and they were taking that horse to train it, to tame it. So it was untamed. Alec loves horses and is captivated by this animal that won't let anyone come near him. So when the group of men boarded with this animal, black stallion, Alec saw it and he was so fascinated. Captivated means fascinated, attracted by this animal that he would never let anyone go near him. And this animal won't let anyone come near him. Means this animal was untamed, so it never let anyone come near him. किसी को अपने पास आने नहीं देता था. Because it was untamed, and forcibly it was taken to the board by some people who were unknown to this animal. Now, in a bid to befriend the horse, which is called the Black, Alec starts leaving lumps of sugar at its stall every night. So to make friends with this animal, because Alec liked horses, so he wanted to make friends with this animal. So to make friends with this animal, with Black, whose name was Black, with this horse's name was Black, he wanted to make friends with this animal. So Alec started leaving lumps of sugar, थोड़ी सी sugar उसके stall में. Stall means the enclosed area in which it was kept. He used to leave some lumps of sugar near that stall. Its stall every night. So one night a terrible calamity strikes the ship. So a natural calamity, disaster happened on the ship, and something terrible happened. Now, when the storm came and the ship shook, what happened to this boy and the horse, it is given in the story. So, first paragraph we are going to read. I'm going to read for you and then I'll explain it to you. The night was hot and still. Heavy clouds blacked out the stars and long streaks of lightning raced through the sky. The black had his head out of the window, his ears pricked forward, his nostrils quivering, his black mane flowing. So children, till here I'll explain you. The night was hot and still. So it was very hot, the night was still, but there were heavy black clouds in the sky. Stars were hidden behind the black clouds and long streaks of lightning raced through the sky. Means there was lightning and thunder in the sky. Means it was going to rain heavily and means strong storm was expected. And the black stallion, he had his head out of the window, like you can see here in the picture, that his head was out of the window of his stall. And his ears pricked forward. कान उसके आगे को आए हुए थे. His nostrils quivering, means they were shaking slightly. And his black mane was flowing. Mane, you know, mane जो आगे वाले बाल होते हैं, they were flowing due to the breeze, cool breeze which was blowing. Alec could not turn his eyes away. He could not believe such a perfect animal existed. So Alec, he could not turn his eyes away. He could not move his eyes away because he was so still. He wanted to look at this animal, and he could not believe such a perfect animal existed. He was just admiring the animal because he loved the horses. Just then the black turned, whistled as he saw the boy, and again faced the water. So just then what happened? Means the horse started showing some interest in the boy. He was becoming friendly with the boy, and after that it turned its face towards the water. Now Alec felt elated. Alec felt very happy that it has become his friend. It was the first time that the stallion hadn't drawn back into the stall at the sight of him. So earlier, when he used to visit, when he used to take the lumps of sugar for this animal, for this black stallion, the black stallion used to go inside his stall when he saw this boy. But now, as every day, every night, he was bringing lumps of sugar for him, so he was becoming friends with this boy. Now Alec had become very happy to see that the horse is becoming friends with him. Now moving closer, he held out the sugar in the palm of his hand to the stallion. So now he offered the sugar lumps to the horse. The black turned and whistled softly this time. So this time the black stallion, it did not react badly, it did not go inside, it just whistled softly, means it was showing interest in the boy. Hope you understood till here. Now moving on to the next page, page number 100. Yes, Alec stood his ground, means he stood still. No one had been this close to the stallion since he came on the boat. So nobody had been so close to this animal since he had come on the boat. But Alec knew that it would not be wise to get any closer, and so placed the sugar on the sill. Abhi bhi usko laga ki I should not go more closer to this animal. So he placed the sugar on the sill. Sill kya hoti hai? It is shelf which is at the bottom of the window. So the black looked at it, then back at the boy. Slowly he moved over and began to eat the sugar. So the black stallion, it looked at the sugar, then to the boy, then gradually he began to eat the sugar. Alec watched him for a moment, satisfied. Alec was satisfied that it was eating his lumps of sugar. Then As the rain began to fall, he went back to his cabin. So it began to rain. So boy Alec went back to his cabin now. Now in the middle of the night, the drake lurched crazily. So in the midnight, what happened? The drake, what was Drake? Drake was the name of the ship. It lurched crazily. Lurched crazily means started shaking, awakening Alec, who was thrown to the floor. So due to the shaking of the ship, the boy was thrown into the floor. गिर गया. So outside there were deafening rolls of thunder. When he saw outside, there were extremely loud sounds of thunder. His first storm at sea. Now he could guess that it was the storm. He pushed the light switch. It was dead. Light jalai, but it was dead. A flash of lightning illuminated the cabin. So halki si flash jalai, maybe with the mobile or something else. He just lighted there and it illuminated the cabin, means cabin mein roshni ho gayi. The top of his desk had been swept clear and the floor was covered with broken grass. Means top of the desk means room ke aage wali jagah jo thi, it was all wet and the floor was covered with broken grass, means आस पास से grass टूट करके वहां गई थी. Grabbing a pocket knife, which was a parting gift from his uncle, he strapped on his life jacket, hoping that he wouldn't need either. So फटाफट से he picked up the pocket knife which was given to him by his uncle when he was parting him. जब उसे आ रहा था तो आते समय his uncle gave him a pocket knife as a gift. So he took it and he put on his life jacket. He was hoping that he would not need it. Thoda sa storm hai, it will go away. So he just put on his life jacket and kept the pocket knife in his pocket. Now, opening the door, he staggered onto the deck and hung onto the rail. So jaise hi door open kiya, he was stumbled to the deck, means ekdam deck pe gir gaya and hung onto the rail. Rail ke paas mein aake he was hanging. The shouts of Captain Watson and the crew would be heard faintly above the roar of the winds. So Captain Watson, who was the captain of the ship, he was shouting, and the crew people jo usme the, they were also shouting, and he could hear the roars of winds also. Huge waves swept from one end of the drake to the other. Hysterical passengers crowded into the corridor. Alec was genuinely scared now. Never had he seen such a storm like this. So there was a sea storm. And outside there was loud, you can see loud thunder sounds were there, and people were shouting for lives, and huge waves was sweeping from one end of the drake to the other. And all the passengers were very scared and they all had come out of the cabins to the corridor. Alec was genuinely scared. He was very scared now because he had never seen such a storm. For what seemed hours, the drake fought, wave after wave, trembling, turning on its side. Yet, somehow, managing to stay afloat. So the ship was fighting with the storm, with the waves. All the waves are coming here and there. Every now and then another wave was coming and hitting against the ship. It was trembling. It was just shaking. And it was managing to stay afloat. The ship was trying to stay calm, but the storm and the waves were pushing it from side to side. The storm began to subside a little. So thoda sa settle down hone laga storm, and Alec felt new hope. And Alec thought that it was a new hope now. But then there was a sharp crack and the ship shook. A sharp cracking sound आई and the ship shook. जोर से हिला. Alec was thrown flat on his face, which felt hot and sticky with blood. So what Alec was? Alec गिर गया. Means मुंह के बाहर जिसको कहते हैं ना. He was thrown flat on his face and the blood started oozing from his mouth. Then he became conscious of screaming passengers climbing, crawling and stepping over him. Then क्या हुआ? धीरे धीरे उसके ऊपर passengers started falling down, falling on upon him, and they were all shouting, screaming badly. Meanwhile, the drake had become still. His engines had gone dead. इतने में क्या हुआ? Drake still हो गई, रुक गई, because its engine had gone dead. Engine भी dead हो गया था. Struggling, Alec pushed himself to his feet and made his way along the deck. अब struggle करते करते anyhow he managed to stand again. His startled eyes took in the scene. So he was very shocked and he was observing everything which was happening about him. The drake, struck by lightning, seemed almost cut in half. अब क्या है? Drake जो थी, it started breaking down. बिल्कुल टूट गई थी. They were sinking. People were sinking now. The crew were manning the lifeboats. Now the crew were the sailors. So they were arranging the lifeboats. फटाफट से निकाल रहे थे. And the Captain Watson was shouting directions. He was showing them directions. Go this way, that way. One boat was being lowered into the water. एक बोट को पानी में बहाया जा रहा था जाने के लिए. And what happened? A large wave caught it and turned the boat and its occupants into the sea. What happened? जिन लोगों को उसके अंदर भर के भेजा जा रहा था, उसी टाइम क्या हुआ? एक again large wave आई and it turned the boat and all the people were into the sea. सब लोग sea में गिर गए. Now the second lifeboat was being filled and Alec awaited his turn, but when it came, the boat had reached its quota. Second lifeboat भी भरी जा रही थी and Alec was waiting for his turn, but when his turn came, the boat had reached its quota, means it was filled completely. Then, coming on to page number 101, wait for the next one, Alec, Captain Watson said sternly. So Captain Watson ने बोला कि अपनी next boat के लिए wait करो. He put his arm on the boy's shoulder, softening the harshness of his words. See, he was just making him calm. He was just consoling him कि रुक जाओ, next boat will come and we will send you in that boat. Just then Alec thought of the black. अभी उसके माइंड में आया कि वो black stallion, उसका क्या हुआ? What was happening to him? Alec fought his way out of line and towards the stern of the boat. If the stallion was alive, he was going to set him free and give him a chance to fight for life. So he thought of that black, and he ran towards the back side of the boat, and he was thinking, and if he is alive, if the stallion is alive, I will set him free so that it can fight for his life, ताकि वो अपनी जान बचा सके. The stall was still standing. Alec heard a shrill whistle rise above the storm. He rushed to the door and swung it open. For a second, the mighty hoofs stopped pounding, and then there was silence. Alec backed away slowly. So क्या हुआ? जब वो जाकर देखता है, stall was still there. That cabin was still there, and Alec heard, उसने सुना कि it was whistling. Means the stallion was alive. He rushed to the door and opened it. उसको खोल दिया फटाफट से. And for a second, the mighty hoofs, जो उसके hoofs थे, horse के feet जो थे, they stopped pounding. Means they were pounding. वो भागने के लिए, he was also trying to come out. And there was silence. वो रुक गया. Alec backed away slowly. Alec थोड़ा पीछे हो गया. Then he saw the black. His head held high, his nostrils blown out with excitement. The horse snorted and plunged straight for the rail, which was broken at this point, leaving nothing between them and the open sea. क्या हुआ? Then he saw, उसने देखा कि जो black stallion था, he held up his head, अपना सिर ऊपर उठाया, and his nostrils were blowing out with excitement. He was also excited. And the horse, he was snorted, means breathed heavily, and jumped straight for the rail. वो आगे बाहर निकलने के लिए भागा, but there was nothing other than the open sea. The black swerved as he came near Alec, and the boy realized the stallion was making for the hole. मीन्स ब्लैक जो था इट्स टर्न सडनली, वापस मुड़ गया, उसने देखा कि आगे तो पानी है. He came near Alec and the boy could understand that he was asking for the help. Making a hole for the hole means he was asking for help. The horse's shoulder grazed Alec, who went flying into the deep. So इतने में क्या होता है कि हॉर्स का जो शोल्डर होता है, it touched Alec and Alec was thrown into the water. उसका धक्का लगता है और Alec पानी में गिर जाता है. When he came up, he heard an explosion and he saw the drake settling into the water. So पानी में से जैसे ही वो सर बाहर निकालता है, he managed to come out. He heard an explosion. एकदम से explosion होती है and he saw Drake, the ship, sinking into the water. Frantically he looked around. Frantically means madly, एकदम पागल हो गया वो. You can see here. He looked around. इधर उधर देखता है. And here you can see he held a rope. आप देख रहे हो? He held a rope. We'll tell you on the next page what happened. Now he looked around for the lifeboat, but there was none in sight. अब इधर तो देखता है कोई lifeboat दिख जाए मुझे, but there was no lifeboat around. Then he saw the black swimming not more than 10 yards away. He saw a stallion was there. Something floated by him, a rope which was attached to the black's halter. अब क्या है कि उसके हाथ में एक चीज आती है. What was that? That was a rope which was attached to the black's halter, means उसके गले में पड़ी हुई थी. The same rope that they had used to bring the stallion aboard and which they had never been able to get close enough to the horse to untie. वही same rope जिसके साथ जो men थे, the group of men थे, they dragged the stallion onto the board and nobody dared to go near the stallion to untie this rope. क्योंकि किसी की उससे दोस्ती नहीं हुई थी अभी तक, so कोई भी उसकी rope को खोल नहीं पाया था. Without stopping to think, Alec grabbed hold of it. Then he was pulled through the water into the oncoming waves. अब क्या है, उसने फटाफट से वो पकड़ ली and उसकी help से this horse was pulling him through the water. Now he was too tired now to think about what he had done. He only knew that he had the choice of remaining in water alone or being pulled by the black. Okay. अब उसको क्या लग रहा था कि मैंने क्या किया, उसको कुछ नहीं समझ में आ रहा था, बट उसको ये पता था या तो मैं ये ब्लैक मुझे खींचता चला जाए या मैं अकेला पानी में रह जाऊं. If he was to die, he would rather die with the mighty stallion than alone. With one last look behind, he saw the drake sink into the sea. अब उसे लगा कि मुझे अकेले मरने से तो अच्छा है मैं इस हॉर्स के साथ ही मर जाऊं. So last look, एक बार फिर से वो ड्रेक की तरफ देखता है जो सी में सिंक कर जाती है. Now he was dragged by the stallion. For hours, Alec battled the waves. He could hardly hold his head up. Suddenly, he felt the rope that was tied securely around his waist slacken. अब क्या है वो? The horse is pulling him. Horse is also trying to come out of water, and the boy was dragged by this horse. And suddenly, what happened? He felt that the rope which he had tied around his waist, उसने अपने waist के around उसको बांध लिया था, and he felt that it was becoming loose. It slackened. The black had stopped swimming. Black जो था उसने swimming stop कर दी थी. Alec anxiously waited, peering into the darkness. After a few minutes, the rope became taut again. उसे लगा कहीं he is not dead. He might be dead. The stallion might be dead. He was trying to make out whether he was alive, whether the stallion was alive. But after a few minutes, the rope again became tight. The horse has changed the direction. Just to change the direction, the horse had stopped. Now, 4 times the black altered his course, and Alec wondered whether the stallion's wild instinct was leading him to land. 4 times the black had changed his direction. 4 बार उसने direction change की. Now, Alec is wondering कि क्या उसके अंदर जो training, it is by default, these animals, they have some training in their mind. They have 6 senses also where the way is leading them. तो they have some sixth sense. So this training by default which is there in them, wild instinct होता है ना. So he was just wondering कि maybe due to his wild instinct or the training by default, he is leading him to land. उसको land में तो नहीं लेके जा रहा. Meanwhile, the first streaks of dawn appeared on the horizon. So इसमें क्या होता है कि the sun began to rise. Early streaks of dawn means early morning was appearing. The sun rose and shone down brightly on the boy. इतने में sun shine कर जाता है, sunrise हो जाता है. The salt water he had swallowed made him sick. So due to the salt water which had gone into his throat, it was making him sick. Because salt water is poisonous. But when Alec felt that it's not that much poisonous which you are thinking, but it is harmful for the body. But when Alec felt that he could not hold on any longer, the sight of the struggling, fighting animal in front of him renewed his courage. So जैसे ही उसकी courage कम होनी शुरू होती है, so he looked at the stallion. वो horse की तरफ देखता है कि नहीं, वो भाग रहा है. If the animal is struggling for his life, fighting for his life, why can't he? He renewed his courage. उसमें हिम्मत आ जाती है. Suddenly he realized that they were going with the waves instead of against them. अब क्या होता है कि अगर हम सी में waves के against जा रहे हैं, it means we are going away from the land. And if we are going towards with the waves, अगर waves के साथ साथ हम बहते चले जा रहे हैं, it means we are going near the land. Yes, they must be approaching land. Eagerly, he strained his salt-filled eyes and looked into the distance. So, बड़ी मुश्किल से वो अपनी आईज ओपन करता है और दूर देखता है कि they were approaching near the land. He saw a reef. Reef क्या होती है? A line of sand, rocks, means land उसको दिख रही है. He might find food and water there and have a chance to survive. उसको लगा कि मुझे वहाँ पर food भी मिल जाएगा, water भी मिल जाएगा. Maybe I can survive. Faster and faster they approached and the white sand. Faster. The stallion was moving towards the land and they reached the white sand. With a shrill scream and a shake of his head, the black went faster through the shallow water to reach the shore. Now the horse is running fast to reach the shore. Now Alec's head whirled as he was pulled towards the beach with ever increasing speed. So he was carrying the boy towards the beach. बहुत तेजी से जा रहा है और Alec का सर चकरा रहा है. His head whirled, उसको चक्कर भी आ रहे हैं. Suddenly he realized the danger of his position. अब उसको लगा, अपने लिए खतरा लगने लगा. कैसे? Just see how he realized the danger. What was the danger? He had to untie the rope from around his waist, or else he would be dragged over the sand. अब उसको लगा था जो रोप मैंने बांधी हुई है मुझे खोलनी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि अगर मैंने नहीं खोली तो ये हॉर्स इतनी तेजी से भागेगा कि सैंड पर मुझे घसीटता हुआ ले जाएगा. आई एम एक्सप्लेनिंग यू इन हिंदी बिकॉज टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड द सिचुएशन. सो ही वुड बी ड्रैग्ड ओवर द सैंड. सैंड के ऊपर वो एकदम खिंचता चला जाएगा. फ्रैंटिकली हिज फिंगर्स flew to the knot as the shore drew closer and closer. And now he was trying to open the knot, but due to water the knot had become very hard. The black was now on the beach. Thunder began to roll from beneath his hoofs as he landed on the shore. Black जो था वो बीच पे पहुंच गया and he was about to run very very fast to survive. Hours in the water had swelled the knot. अब knot जो थी पानी में रहकर एकदम swell up हो गई थी. Alec was not able to untie it. Then he remembered the pocket knife. A pocket knife उसने अपनी life jacket में डाली थी. Could it still be there? क्या वो वहीं पर होगी? Alec's fingers reached inside and came out with the knife. He got the knife from his pocket. He was being dragged by the stallion on the shore and sand flew in his face. अब वो जो था शोर पर आ चुका था. सैंड उसके फेस पर इट वॉज फ्लाइंग ऑन हिज फेस एंड ही हैड टू एक्ट क्विकली. उसको जल्दी क्विकली एक्ट करना था. He opened the knife and began to cut the rope. फटाफट से स्पीड से he was cutting the rope. His body burned from the sand. His clothes were being torn off. Desperately he sawed away the rope. अब उसके कपड़े जो हैं एकदम जल रहे थे because and his clothes were being torn off, क्योंकि वो उसके साथ ड्रैग होता हुआ चला जा रहा था, उसके कपड़े जो थे वो फटने वाले थे, बट स्टिल ही वॉज जस्ट ही वॉज ट्राइंग टू कट द रोप फास्ट 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 फास्ट. जान बचाने के लिए इंसान कुछ भी करता है. सो विद द वन फाइनल थ्रस्ट ही वॉज थ्रू. फाइनल एकदम से जोर से वो नाइफ से उसके ऊपर स्ट्रोक मारता है, एंड द रोप वॉज कट. As the black galloped into his freedom, Alex outstretched hands caressed the sand. Both he and the horse were alive. अब क्या होता है कि जो black stallion है, he has galloped to his freedom, means इतनी तेज़ी से भागता है कि एकदम से गायब हो जाता है, मतलब बहुत तेज़ी से भाग जाता है. And Alex outstretched his hands, और वो बाएं फैलाए अपनी. क्या है? Caressed the sand means he touched the sand, वो sand पर उल्टा लेट जाता है. Both of them were alive. They managed to survive. So this was the incident from the black stallion. Hope you have understood it, and I hope you liked it also. So that's all with the chapter. Goodbye and have a nice day. Exercises will be sent to you, question answers will be sent to you, and the reading will be done in the class. Okay, goodbye children.